Did you hear what she said?
No.
I said, your tea's on the side, and she went, thanks, shithead, and ran off.
Oh, that's good. Welcome to the Insiders, episode number whatever. Um, Good evening, Matt.
Good evening, sir.
Quick one. In the world of surfers, we're all forced to travel. Over the last month, I've seen some pretty good ones. Like I've had a couple of people come down here for a surf week and cop more rain in one day than they've probably seen in a year. Hence the hit and miss nature of France. I went into a long story with these crew the other day about how I travelled across the world to the Mentawais, and got there and it kind of went flat for the whole week. And later in this episode, I'll be talking to Leo Fioravanti for a one-on-one, and that was what brought that Mentawais trip to mind, because I remember talking to him right before I went to the Mentawais. So there you go. How are you, Matt? After your come to France, get skunked, go home, and cop one last one. Yeah, that got solar plexus.
Yeah, I'm good. Recovering. Yeah, you're right. It's literally perfect example of it. I was in France the exact same time last year, and it was between 25 and 30 degrees every
Hmm.
day, and like free foot every day, and perfect every day. And this year was 20 degrees at best, a couple of sunny days, couple of rainy days, surfed twice in a week, and that was pretty much the only time you could. One of them was a very kind of clutching at all kind of straws, just getting in the sea type thing as well. Um, Even Fipsy only surfed twice the week I was there, and he's an absolute hound for surfing.
I said that to someone today. I only surf twice last week. I thought myself. My mate Rob Vaughan Cook had a problem with his foot. Then went to a party that I was at with 15 and caught COVID. So he's been out for 2 weeks.
Heavy.
It wasn't the worst 2 weeks to miss, honestly.
Nah. But I did go to a hell party. I went to the Quiksilver Mercury party, and shout out to my boy Ishmael, sorted me out VIP. So I was like VIP, free drinks, free food, side of the stage with like, because they had a proper party with proper DJ, and he was like side of the stage right next to it and stuff.
Which one was that one?
Is the Quicksilver Thursday night Mercury party at the
Ah,
Capital
at
Board
the
Riders.
board riders. Okay, was that good?
Hell party. It was so good.
Good
So thank you
music.
very much. Real good, like duff duff music. Um, yeah, the
You like a bit of
Kael,
duff duff?
I'm not usually partial to it, but I actually really enjoyed it.
It
And
can be it can be really good depending on your mood, can't it?
yeah, and the setting and stuff, it was actually really good getting having a little, and it's like a one-off as well. So it was kind of like I can't imagine having it on my Spotify or anything, like listening to it while walking the dog, but it was pretty fun. And we went to, which you were at, the Hale Walsh film premiere at Le Surfing, which was pretty sick. That was really cool. So, although I got skunked in the water, it was still a sick week. I still think the Quickie Festival is the best thing that happens. Um, and yeah, Kael Walsh's edit and Milla Coco Brown's edit is pretty fucked up as well.
I didn't see Carl's. I didn't see either of them. I left before that happened. What was I going to say? You don't think the Quickie Festival could be a bit better? It's very localized, meaning if you don't come there, you don't really see it. I mean, what can you capture off Instagram? You think they need a streaming of the event? It's probably
I
a budget. That's probably a budget thing as well.
So in my opinion, I wouldn't stream it. I would record it all and then release it like after the fact. Um,
Release it on the Quiksilver website, maybe on a Quiksilver
yeah,
YouTube site for a daily action.
yeah, either a daily action or just wrap the whole thing into a half an hour edit. Um, like you could package it up. Here's the best twin fin waves. Here's the best combos. Here's the best, like the biggest maneuver. Um, show some of the extracurricular activities, like because I think they do that Baguette TV, and I think that's really sick. I really enjoy watching that. Um, but it doesn't show much of the surfing, where it basically create a longer version of that and then release it after. I think that would be really cool. Um,
As an outsider and an external, as opposed to being an insider, an external voice here, I quite hate personally watching external activities, parties and stuff from the outside. I kind of just hate that. I just kind of feel like I'm someone that wasn't invited to something. I don't care about someone else's party if I haven't been to it. As opposed to, I really love seeing surfing action from any of this sort of, you know what I mean? I don't
yeah,
give a
I
fuck
mean
about
I
someone's
didn't
party if I didn't go to
when,
it.
but I like seeing when I mean like the extracurriculars.
Couple of shots.
I
Yeah,
don't
they had
necessarily
skate
mean
things and stuff like that. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, I don't necessarily mean the parties, but I also mean like in the comp zone, like when people are grabbing their boards and having like you've seen a few bits of it where like they talk about what fins they're riding and they talk about like
Yeah, that's
between
interesting. I
each
can
other.
handle that.
Um, I just think it would be cool to put it out. I wouldn't stream it. I think the nature of it, like you saw this year when they went from Lenore, called it off for an hour, and then they're back at Guardians. Um, that would be really difficult to watch on a stream, but I don't sit
Were
down.
you there that
Cool.
day?
No, that was Saturday.
That was the biggest or second biggest day of my year at the cafe. It went bananas. Oh, I wanted to say that on the potty as well. Like I got flogged, man. Like was you're supposed to be happy about it, and I was massive weekend. And then somewhere halfway through yesterday, I just started getting a bad feeling in my mouth because I'd run out of bread. I'd run out of my normal acai. I'd run out of all this stuff. We were putting out sandwiches. I was telling people, look, we can't do food anymore. I'd run out of rice, didn't have beetroot and things like that. And of course, what happens when I got home at the end of the day, even though it was the best weekend financially for the cafe the whole year, I see a message. You've just had a 1-star review from
Ugh,
some wench who's like, hey, I waited and lying. Oh, a piece of tomato came off the floor and put on the sandwich, which is like categorically
not
not
true.
true. It's just
Yeah,
not true. And she said that with we had to wait 45 minutes for a thing and they forgot my order, which too is not true. Because with every order, we said, look, guys, it's a 20-minute wait. Come back. Like, if you haven't been called, there's just two of us in here, come back in. And so, how, if that happened, would they see this anyway? I'm just trying to say, all these restaurants in the world like that are doing their best and everything. Like people just give these bad reviews. It really turns my head. And
yeah,
then I thought, what about these people like Dave Beckham and surfers, who put in their best, try to go out and put their best day in and just get
yeah.
slagged off to
Do you know?
kingdom come.
Do you know there's this guy in England who runs a restaurant, and every time he gets a bad review that's not true, he is if it's on Trustpilot, he calls he'll reply calling them a paedophile, and Trustpilot take the whole review down. He's found a complete loophole. Yeah. He just says, "Oh, were you the people in the restaurant who were grooming a child? I know who you are, you're a paedophile." Things like that. And then the whole thing gets taken down. It's hilarious. But yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, it was a bit like there was so Kelly was in France, saw Kelly, came to eye with a goat, weirdest experience of my life. Um, but also saw it was so weird. He surfed the heat and everyone was like in front of the comp site. He paddled to the next bank to carry on surfing, and the whole comp crowd moved to the next bank with him. And then
He's got massive power in France. He's
it's
always had big
incredible.
crowd pulling power.
But then he runs up the beach, and he ran up the beach and he didn't stop for anybody, which is fair enough. But I could imagine people being really like off him for not stopping and not. But like he does it like it made me realize like being kind of in semi-close proximity to it. Like it's not you don't get a day off. It's not like a 9 to 5, so he can't be.
You couldn't take your eyes off him, I bet.
To be honest, I didn't really. I was more Clay Marzo was surfing at the same time, and I was more interested in Clay Marzo.
I
Um,
mean, when he come past you on land, most
no, I
people
didn't
get a little
move. I
bit
just
rattled.
I filmed it on my phone just because it looked like a zombie apocalypse. But
My
it,
son ran up after him on the beach and got a couple of good little photos and everything on him, and he's not even in the surfing. He's a basketballer.
yeah. I mean, it's really cool, but it just made me realize from Kelly's perspective, like we work
That's
like,
pretty tough, huh?
yeah, it is non-stop. Um,
He's him coming out of his front door. Then imagine what it's like for Beckham and Leonardo
I
DiCaprio.
know. But I also met Kai Lenny with Fipsy, completely by accident. He actually started talking to us while we was checking the surf. Very, very nice guy. Really cool guy. So Kai Lenny was nice.
As
Uh,
American as he sounds,
Super American, but really, really positive and just really nice. Yeah, like very
he
much like
seems it.
less of an
Polished,
ego. Yeah, but less
polished.
of an ego than I thought. He was really nice. Fipsy made it was hilarious. Fipsy forced Kylini's filmer into trying his fat e-bike on sand, and this guy was like nearly eating shit, and Fipsy was basically like, "Come on, go, go, go!" Like, and this guy just didn't want to, but Fipsy was like bullying him into it. It was funny as like, um, but yeah, Kylini was really nice. I met Kael Walsh at the Mercury party. Super cool, really nice, super down to earth. Like they all are. Like they're just normal people, aren't they? Really, but like just surf good.
Yep, yep. There you go. I didn't meet anyone. I didn't watch a single heat the whole week. Unfortunately, I was working, and yeah, I guess I saw a few of these people at the yeah, I would have at the surfing party thing up in the car
Yeah.
park that night. But those guys, they were pretty good. A little bit bluesy music, a little bit bluesy music.
Oh,
Anyway,
good music.
The Quicksilver Festival's had its moment of glory with us. What I wanted to say to you is I saw something really interesting tonight, and I didn't necessarily nearly want to watch it. But then I saw a couple of comments saying how good it was, and I watched Sterling Spencer documentary, 45 minutes. If you haven't watched it, I watched it on your subscription on Stab.
Is
About
that the one about his brain injury and stuff?
Barry's brain injury where he copped his
Yeah.
finger head. I never knew how good he surfed when he was younger. To
Yeah.
tell you the truth, I rarely watched any of his stuff. It's kind of hard to watch. Even I'll watch a bit of Raglan. It tends to get a little bit boring to me as well. I'd rather watch like real comedians do comedy, even though I think Sterling Spencer kind of is a bit of a comedian. Like I prefer to watch Seinfeld or real professionals. Amazing surfer, and it does show. A lot of people don't notice that. Like, doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you do. Mental health's massive issue. Concussion, super dangerous. I don't know how more of these rugby players and stuff don't just
Oh, yeah.
protest. I mean, honestly, it's kind of like I've always thought about this for the last 20 or so years. Rugby league, because I come from a rugby league nation. You're also from a bit of a rugby nation, even though football's more. And football's dangerous too, with all the headers. They're trying to slow it down. You imagine kids doing all those headers all the time.
Yeah.
But it kind of just feels like the Gladiator with Russell Crowe. You know, what I mean that we're putting them out there to watch them, and who cares
Yeah,
if they end up with what's it called? CT, when they get a chronic concussion injury.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like similar to how I felt about the Olympics. Like I was worried that it was just going to be like that gladiator feeling of like just throw him to the wolves. Or the thing with the rugby thing as well is they're starting to do it now. They're doing it in cricket, which is really good. But like, there's a mentality that if you're the player, it's like, oh, get up, I'm fine. But like, concussion doesn't. Most of the time, concussion isn't instant unless you're like knocked out. And like with cricket now, if you get hit on the head with the ball, no matter how fast the bowler was, no matter what happens, they come out, stop the game, come out and do a concussion test. And it's the doctor's choice whether you stay on the field or not. It's not your bravery can't come into it. It's not like, oh, I need to stay out. It's literally if the doctor says, nah, I'm not taking that risk, you're off the field. Um, and I think they're bringing a bit more of that into rugby. But yeah, fuck knows with rugby. But I would say, I was actually going to say that. Weirdly, I was going to mention it slightly in a different way. But it was quite cool in France. I saw a lot of Groms wearing helmets.
Yeah, yeah. Helmets is one of the new. I think it's the best thing that can happen to surf. We had. I worked at the Bell Surf Shop last winter, and I remember I had a what do you call it? Clashing of opinions because I went there every Saturday and I'd bring there was four gaff helmets there, one nice red shiny sort of thing, and I'd go and put them out on the front uh present presentation thing right in
Yeah,
front of the front door because I just think that's a massive future in the surf industry. Like if I had my son does surf, and even but I'd get him to wear a helmet, especially in a crowded situation.
yeah,
I mean, you have to up on the slopes.
exactly. And I think like if you start wearing them at that young age, like it would probably be weird if I went and I've never surfed in a helmet, so if I put one on now and went for a surf tomorrow, it would feel weird for me. But when you're starting your surfing and then it's what you do the whole way, they become more it's part of it rather than something that feels alien. But I did think that was really cool. That
Well, that's a really good watch. It sounds like you haven't watched it.
oh
I
yeah,
think you'll
yeah,
find it pretty interesting. Which brings me on to the fact that this is a Leonardo Fioravanti episode. Now, I've known him many years. Also, wanted to say to our listeners, we're not chasing people down to do guest appearances on our podcast. Just so you know that, like, if we reach out to someone and they want and they're positive, we'll have them on. But we're not chasing people down. I just wouldn't do it. It just turns my stomach to beg people to do this. So the only people you're ever going to listen to on our podcast as a guest are people who are down for it, not people who are trying to sell something. Apart from Beyonce, who we've got next week, maybe, who's trying to push one of her new singles. But apart from that, everyone who comes on wants to. Leo, I've wanted to have on since day one because I've known him since he was 11. I just think he's just an incredible surfer. He's an incredible asset to surfing. What do you reckon, Matty?
yeah. I think he's a phenomenal surfer. I think he gets underrated quite a lot of the time with his actual surfing ability. And I think for me, for Leo, the biggest thing is I think people forget, or it's quite easy to forget, like his resilience. Like he broke his back and like came back from it, and then had another major serious injury, then came back from it. And sometimes people, I've heard like on things like people mention that like he was part of the Jack Robbo Kanoa Leo thing where they were taken on trips at a young age and they were lucky to do so, blah blah blah. Of course they were lucky, but Leo's had like some pretty big setbacks and he comes back bigger and stronger. So for me, like for everyone to know, I haven't even heard what Darren and Leo say. I'm about to finish this, edit them, put them together, and release it. Unfortunately, I had committed to take my wife to San Sebastian, and Leo confirmed that he could do the interview pretty late, and there was no way I was getting murdered by my wife. So I'm yet to hear it, but that's my thoughts on Leo.
I tell you what's really interesting about Leo is there's so many young kids that the parents or their sponsors want to push them, and they're this and they're talented and stuff like that. And then there's also a lot of criticism from the core surfing public of, okay, Leo hasn't won an event yet, or him and Kanoa, they're not on the top five, and my surfer could do better and stuff. But they don't seem to understand that. Like, for example, Leo from he came from Italy, and he'd come here on trips to Anglada, if I remember correctly, and then I think he did a couple of Spanish trips. This is someone that would go on a comp and just win it anywhere. It's not someone that, like, the parents were pushing him to go into training. He was pushing himself. He just pushed himself into a comp, win it, win it, win it, win it, win it, keep winning it, win the Europeans when he was 16, 17. Like, they're unstoppable. Like him, there's a few of them. They're not journeymen. They just straight there. He straight onto the tour, got injured, got knocked off, straight back on. Huh? Another injury or a bad season, got knocked off, straight back on. There wasn't even a blink. Kind of like Kanoa, and then Jack was the one that was behind him, and then actually has been able to transcend that slower transition, I guess. But I can't really see any of those three going anywhere in the next few years. I mean, off tour.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not seeing kids of their ability
come through.
coming through. Like, it
No,
hasn't been any. What is there any 17-year-old or 18-year-old that's qualifying this year?
no, no. I literally watched the Portugal Pro today, and Leo, funnily enough, Leo's in it, but he's not in these rounds yet and stuff. And from what I saw today, no, like Jackson Baker surfed really well, but like it's not on that level. Um,
He's 30 something. I'm talking
yeah,
about young kids coming through.
yeah.
So I think they were kind of like the coolie kids.
I also
Uh,
think I wanted to
Maybe the
say,
Brazilian Storm. They come through in little packs.
yeah, I wanted to say as well, like just before we jump into the Leo interview, outside of surfing, he's like he was at the Bell store opening and stuff. And he's pretty good, like with people. Like he was playing ping pong with kids, like crowded around him, like like and signing boards and stuff. And like what that means for a kid is massive, like and not to be forgotten as well. And I think he's also a great ambassador for himself and for the brands he represents, which is a massive part of it as well. Like, it's it unfortunately maybe in the world that we are in, like especially in the surf world, is you can't really just be a very, very good surfer and get by. Like money comes into it, and Leo carries himself like a professional athlete, not like a professional surfer.
Well, he was from he was 16. I'm telling you, I played ping pong against him when he was 11 at this Quiksilver house, and I think he beat me 21-2 or something like that. It was humiliating. And that's what I said to him, the ping pong thing. I said, "How you going?" I said, "Can you beat Kelly?" Because I just remember Kelly and Steph playing a lot of ping pong at at the barbecue we did, like, I don't know when that was, 7 or 8 years ago. And he was like, I just smashed him. And he was telling me the only person who he can't beat in ping pong is Gabriel Medina, he reckons is outrageously good as well.
Fair play. I Yeah,
I think it was also super interesting and shocking when he got dropped by Quicksilver. I thought as well. I was shocked. I didn't see that coming. I didn't hear about it, and then it was like he wasn't the only one across the world. There was a lot of high-profile surfers dropped, huh? And then I thought it was pretty radical actually that he connected with Kawe because like I've lived in this country many years, and that spray jacket, the Kawe spray jacket, is iconic.
yeah,
Like, we went to Paris last year. We went into the Kawe shop with my son, who's doing uni up there, and that's what he got. He wouldn't get anything else. It's
yeah,
kind of like, a tissue that you blow your nose with. You can call it a Kleenex, right?
yeah, yeah,
In France, or a cola drink, people say it's a Coke, whether it's Pepsi or whatever. Well, the spray jacket, they call it a Kawe, even no matter what brand it is.
yeah, 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 100%. Yeah. I mean, I I would love to know a bit more about that. Like, you probably won't ever figure it out, but like how much he got dropped to how much it was like him asking for what he's worth, them not being able to give to him, so then him going, nah, I'm out, kind of a thing as well. But he
I think a lot of things went pear-shaped at Quicksilver over those last couple of years where it was just too much public money, trust fund, banks, hedge fund, you know, all that sort of stuff. And budgets are budgets. So if you don't fall in to that budget with the immediate boss straight above you, what's that word? Someone told me that this year where family mates get in, like as a as an adjective for that, where if you employ family members or friends,
uh
you don't know it either. Your
no,
vocabulary's up the duff. I'm going to research that tonight, and you can put it in your little blurb for our podcast.
I'd do it. But yeah, so I'm super intrigued to see what you say to Leo, what he says back. So I'm gonna pretty much hear it when everyone else hears it. And then we're gonna do another poddy that will be out following this, where we're gonna talk boards because we got two new albums to talk about. I got a Fipsy to talk about. You've got a couple of Bradleys to talk about. So we're gonna do a full episode on boards.
So let's do that later this week. I surfed my semi-brand new 8 10.5 Bradley Grunter gun this morning. I waxed up the Vaughny 611, and I've had one or two surfs on the links. I've also surfed a fair bit over the last couple of months, a Fipsy one bag epoxy with a box. So whether we're not like just pushing our shapers here, by the way. It's more the shape. We'll talk about the shape.
100%. And like, fuck, like, I've got no shaper to push. I surf boards from everybody and anybody and try them. And if they're good, they're good. If they're bad, they're bad. And I have
If there's
no,
any shapers out there that want us to talk about your board, we will not hesitate to talk about it if one turns up at our 4 steps.
exactly. And if it's shit, we're still going to say it's shit.
There you go.
Um,
There you go. I'm going to test
like,
out those Mayhem future fins you swung me.
yeah, boy, get on them. And if
Maybe we're
anybody,
going to have to do a few tech
that's it. That's what I want
episodes
to do.
because we've got a couple of wetsuits getting ready to test it. I'm going to be testing the
The simple
simple
two.
3.2, which feels like a 4.3.
I've been testing a sick Billabong suit alongside my simple suit, which both rank very highly.
Have you ever surfed a Dakine suit?
Shithouse.
Okay, I've got a Dakine at the moment that I inherited from Leo Glatzer last year, and I've been surfing it because it's quite thin. I think it's a 2.2. It's a
Mm.
little bit thin. It was all right because it was thin. Because my Vissla, it was 4 seasons old, springy, has got a little hole at the top, right underneath your left shoulder. It's strange because at the same spot, I've got a Quicksilver, what do you call it, long leg, short arm, and it had a hole in the same spot. So I've been pushed into a 3.2, even though the water's still quite warm.
Yeah. No, I've used the Decline one once or twice and really didn't like it. Um, it was a thicker suit. It was a winter suit, but it was heavy as and also horrible to get on and off. But um, yeah,
What? Well, while we're on that, you said you watched Portugal today, which I haven't, and I'm going to watch it a little bit after we hang up here. This is the second last event. Uh, it'll be interesting. We'll have to talk about this towards the end of the week as well. I think someone said to me today, Cowley Vast, boom, out first heat.
yep. And also, if you listen to a few podcasts ago, I spoke about Aaron Brooks not making everyone getting on her hype, and then I don't think she's going to make the big leagues this year.
She get knocked out?
Done. Audi.
Done. Done. She's only what, 12? No, I'm kidding. She's what?
Yeah.
She's 16?
Yeah. 16,
16,
15.
and there's only 5 spots there, so that's pretty tough. And interesting, Cowley won the gold medal, and he's not really. I reckon he's got to be under a little bit of fatigue as well from post Olympics press conferences. He was here for the Quiksilver Festival.
He was at the
Everywhere it
party.
goes, everywhere it goes at the moment, people are like calling his name. So that'll
And
be
I
interesting.
would I would say that today the waves were really good in
Okay, he doesn't
Portugal.
have a chance of getting on tour realistically now until 26.
Yeah.
It's pretty it's pretty
It's
wild. That
crazy. He's a gold medalist, but he's not on tour. Um, but then
gold
it's
medal gold medalist but there's been plenty of outsiders win Olympic gold medals over the years in many different sports. It's a once in a 4 year thing.
true.
All right. All right. Well, let's pass on this potty to the Italian stallion. Um, Matt, I'll be talking to you later this week. I hope you enjoy the listen as well. Apologies at the start because Leo's Wi-Fi was up the cactus at first, so there's a little bit of what? Can you hear me? Famous when you're in your car with Bluetooth.
Yeah,
Quick shout out again. Fuck you, Bluetooth. It's not the first time I've said it,
it's
is
not.
it? You
It's
know,
not.
it's my traditional comment, but I'm not really keen on driving around in a car saying, "Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can hear you. Can you hear me?" And
Yeah.
you're just saying that to each other for about 5 minutes.
And then when it connects and you think you're connected and you go off on like a big conversation and then you realize that
I didn't hear anything.
they're not even there. Yeah.
Oh, that's a classic. Talking to
But
yourself, talking to yourself. All right, Matt.
anyway,
Let's
here's
speak
Dazza.
later this week.
Yeah, and here's Darren talking to Leo Fioravanti. Enjoy, people.
Okay, well, welcome to the Insiders, Leo. I'll do an introduction on you elsewhere. Um, I saw you
Is
at the.
your is it just you and I, or is there your friend as well?
Yep,
Just you and
no,
I.
it's just me and you. He had to go
Okay.
to San Sebastian with his girlfriend,
Oh,
which
that's good.
you know what it's all about. You got to look after the ladies.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good.
Hey, so I had an interesting one to start off. We don't script our podcasts because generally I've got enough to say anyway. Um, we had the 1 year anniversary last night at Bell, and there was a ping pong tournament, and we talked about this the other day, how you're pretty good at ping pong, and somehow I'm not surprised because high level athletes like yourself seem to transcend most sports just because I guess you're just born with, not even I guess, you're just born with this superior eye hand coordination. Are there any other sports that you're really good at apart from surfing and ping pong?
Well, I think I don't think we're born with it, but I do think that because I put so much effort into one sport or into one discipline, you do develop these like certain like I think it's more like concentration skills where you're so focused on something and you really just try to give it your best.
So you
You know
say
what I mean?
you think that like your discipline that you're getting from all your surf training and everything, then that crosses over into when you kick off into another sport.
And even if it's just like a fun sport like ping pong, like it's just a funny whatever sport, anything that gets competitive, and the athlete I think is just gonna try and bring that concentration and focus into it. So I think that's a big part of it.
So what else are you good at?
But other than ping pong, are you there, Darren?
Yeah, I'm there. We're good.
I don't know if it's me or you. Are you cutting out or am I cutting out?
You were cutting out a little bit, but I'm okay.
Yeah, I keep because I keep like not seeing you, so I don't know if.
As long as you can hear me, no worries, because we do a recording.
Okay, because I stopped hearing you for a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do our best, and if we have to, we'll come and do one live.
I don't know if. Yeah, no, I lost you. This is okay.
I'm hearing you, but you are. Yeah, that's what's
Is
up.
it just recording or also video?
It's just recording, really. I mean,
Okay. Yeah, I'm fully cutting out. My Wi-Fi is so bad. Let me try this. Yeah, let's see how this goes.
we're going to hotspot off your phone.
No, I am using my phone actually.
Okay.
I just connected to a different Wi-Fi. I don't know if this works better.
Okay. Yeah, so we were just saying you got surfing, you got ping pong. You're a pretty good skier, aren't you?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, wait, I don't think this works. No, I keep losing you. Darren?
Yep, I'm here. I hear you perfectly.
Okay, so I'll just keep talking and let me know if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I growing up, I always loved the type of sport. I love to surf. I love to play ping pong. I used to be in our local soccer team. I was the right wing, and I was the one that was front back. I used to ski when I was a kid. I was actually a really good skier. At one point I was like doing a bunch of competition and everything. So I think it's to do sports. And now I also love to play golf. I wouldn't say I'm that good, but I love it. So uh, for sure, even if I wasn't a professional surfer, I think I would have tried to be a professional athlete at some other sport. Now, if I would have succeeded, who knows? But for sure.
Hey, so you said you can smash Kelly in ping pong. I'm taking it you can't smash him at golf.
No, definitely not. He's he's the best surfer golfer there is in the world, I think.
Okay. And that's kind of something like, age is inevitable. I've felt it myself, even though the last 10 years I kind of felt better than the 10 years before. But like Kelly, we can see he's not having the same sort of impact he was having in competitions 10 years ago. But I think golf wise, it's probably because it's less physical, he's probably still maintaining.
Oh, I think in golf he's getting better, and now that he's gonna stop competing and stop surfing, he's going to get so good at golf, and I think he's gonna. I wouldn't be surprised if he'll go into some masters competitions in golf
That'd make sense, wouldn't it?
because he's such a. I mean, he's 52, and he's probably one of the fittest or healthiest 52-year-olds there is in the world. So he'll get to 60 and he'll just be still a fresh young dude.
That's what we're all looking for. Hey, so you were saying you were really good at skiing, and now if you don't have to give me a whole history, but I remember like when you were a kid, you were coming to Anglet surfing, weren't you? That was it. You were coming to Anglet and somewhere in Spain or something like that.
Yeah, I started coming to Hoosegow or this area, but at first I was going to Anglet and Biarritz. My first ever shaper was RT surfboards back before Christian and Bailey and all Bradley and all that. He's an Italian shaper, and he used to host me and my brother at his house in Anglet. And that was some cool years because that was the very first times that I spent in this area. And then I discovered Hoosegow, and I was coming up pretty often. And yeah, when I got sponsored by Quiksilver had a house over here, and I started coming to Hoosegow more than that. But all this area has been a favorite of mine for a very long time.
I remember seeing. I think there was some sort of competition with Quiksilver and Jeff Hackman and stuff were in it, and you were in one of their teams, and they had to. You think you had to run back up from the water's edge after you finished the heat, and you weren't just jogging, like you were sprinting. And I'd seen that one time before with this board riders comp in my hometown near Maroochydore, where they were against Caloundra and Joel Parko was in it. And he would have been around about the same age, and he wasn't just jogging, you know what I mean? He was sprinting. So you knew, like, even from then, you wanted to win, didn't you?
Oh, that sounds like me 100%. I wanted to win. And maybe that's also because I have an older brother that's 8 years older than me, Matteo. And I've always, when you're the younger brother, you always want to try and beat your older brother, no matter what you're doing. So from the youngest age, I grew up with a pool table in my house. So me, my dad, and my brother, they used to play, and I was too young, and up until I was maybe 9. And at 9, I started actually playing pretty good pool. And maybe I started beating them at like 10 years old. So that's where, I think the competitiveness inside me, and the older brother, makes you push yourself no matter what you're doing, whether it's playing soccer on a little field or swimming laps or water laps, everything. I think and it's fun. It keeps things exciting. And I think competition is healthy. And I'm glad that I always try to bring that energy with whatever I try to do.
I don't know, brother. It was the same thing, but like he was 4 years older. So, like for example, Mateo's what, he's 7 or 8,
Mateo was 8, 7.5.
7.5, kind of like my sons. So that meant you were like kind of playing adults as well, which would
Yeah,
have honed your abilities up.
for sure. Exactly. I was lucky enough that he actually took me with him and his friends uh, pretty much everywhere, whether it was surfing, everywhere. So I was always hanging with older guys, and they were a very fun group of friends where they always played sports, and I would always get involved in everything.
So then there's a couple of incidences that I tried to think of before we spoke to you. Now there's another one that I remember distinctly, and you will. It was when you went to Australia for, I think was it the Occy Grom
Yeah, the
comp
Aki Grom
in
comp. Yeah,
Lennox? And that was a big issue at the time because you went by yourself. And I remember Belly was stressed, your mum was stressed, and you forced them that you were going. And I think maybe you must have flown into Melbourne anyway, and Belly was on the phone with you when you were on the other side of the gates, and there was someone there. There must have been someone there from Quiksilver to pick you up. And I remember, like, at the time I was thinking this is pretty like wild that you were going there by yourself at that age because you absolutely wanted to go, and then you end up winning, correct?
yeah. I was 12 years old, and at the time I was really good friends with Mikey Wright, and the whole Wright family would take care of me as soon as I got there. But to get there, obviously from Europe to Australia, it's not an easy trip. And I was only 12 years old. And now that I think about it, it's crazy that I flew all the way there alone. Like when I have a son and he's 12 years old, I don't think I would ever let him fly alone at 12. That's just kind of crazy. But at the same time, I think I was already a pretty little mature 12-year-old, and I traveled a lot. So I knew my way around airports. And I clearly remember for me, it was easy to travel alone. Oh, wow, I got to travel alone. It was just like, yeah, come on, just drop me off at the airport and let me go. Like, it's no worries.
You
And
would have
I
had like
think,
your
I don't
backpack
know
and
if it
your
was that
passport.
trip. I don't know if it was that trip or maybe a trip after, but around that time. Um, I remember there was once that I was traveling alone and I would only be 12 or 13. and my flight got delayed, my first one, so I missed my connection. So I had to spend the night in London. Now the airline company covered the hotel and everything, so they gave me a voucher for the hotel, and I show up at the hotel counter, and I'm like, here's my voucher for the hotel room, and the check-in counter, or the guy at the check-in counter, was like, okay, cool. Where's your family? Where's your parents? I'm like, no, it's just me. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's just me. So then I spent one night in London airport, and I still remember I was chilling. I woke up, went to brekkie by myself, and then got back on the shuttle bus and went back to the airport. Got on the flight the next day and went to Australia.
So your English was already like spot on then. I remember. How early did you just start mastering the languages?
Yeah, I think my English was pretty good. It wasn't perfect, but it was definitely enough to try to get on everything. Uh, I remember English probably came first, but I would say by 10 or 11, I already was speaking Italian, French, and English. And then the traveling part just made every language, so much easier to speak. And then I eventually acquired Spanish and Portuguese. So I think, I think the key to language is learning them when you're young, because you see so many kids with different parents that they learn 2 to 3 languages. And my niece already, she's 4.5, and she speaks English, French, and Italian. So when you're young, you have this ability to you're a sponge, you acquire everything. And I didn't have, both my parents were Italian, but since I started traveling young, I acquired that pretty easily. And then I was never a shy kid. I always wanted to speak. I always wanted to talk. I always wanted to exchange. So that's a big part of it. I think a lot of kids are a bit more shy, and that's totally normal. It's you can't really control that. But when you are a bit shy, you're a bit scared to say words, or you're a bit scared to be wrong. I was I was never scared to fail. I was never scared to be wrong. I'd say something wrong, and my friends would correct me, and I would learn from that. So, and I think I translated that in every aspect of my life. So that's been cool. But the language part, I think, is the biggest learning curve that I've had in my, young career traveling. I mean, maybe I didn't have a normal school life as most of my friends my age, but I don't think many of my friends speak 5 languages, and I don't mean to say that in an arrogant or any way, but I've been lucky enough to experience the world, and the world has taught me so much. Maybe I'm less book smart, but I'm definitely been able to learn so much traveling the world, different cultures, different languages, and that's been my biggest, the best school in the world.
They say in French, when you go for a university degree, if you've got a 3-year degree, they call it a bac plus three, and if you've got a 5, it's a bac plus 5. So you're bac plus 5 with languages.
I
What are you better in, Spanish or Portuguese, you think?
think I'm pretty similar. I think
Okay.
I've actually been thinking about that lately, because I've been speaking both languages, with going to El Salvador and then going to Brazil for the world tour. So then, like, you're kind of going from Spanish to Portuguese, and I'm very similar. There's I would say French, Italian, and English, I'm perfect, and then Spanish and Portuguese, I'm probably 70, 80%, way good enough to have a normal conversation, an interview, order food, every type of thing. I understand everything. Of course, sometimes there's a few words that I don't know, but I just maybe throw
Okay.
out an English, I throw an Italian or a French word in there and make it work.
Hey, so then the next thing I really remember distinctly, because that was a pretty big year for me as well at the time, because I'd never been to the Mentawais before, and I was getting ready to go to Lance's Rights, and you'd been there on a trip, and it was a year when you snapped every one of your boards. I
Yeah,
remember that,
I did,
and
exactly.
then
Yes.
other people had to lend all your boards. And so I saw you at the factory, and I was going, "How many boards do you think I should take?" And you kind of, that was when you were like, you were still pretty full on cocky and outgoing as a kid, and you were going, it depends how hard you want to charge, does it? And I was like, fucking think about, oh, here we go. So anyway, I ended up taking 3 boards, and I remember that was when you were really charging it. I think it was that winter when you did your back at the Volcom,
No,
or
it
was it the year
wasn't.
after?
Yeah, it was the year after because I went to the Mentawais when I was 15, turning 16.
Okay. And it was
And
17.
it was a year and a half after I broke my back when I was just turning 17. So,
Do you, did
but
that
yeah, that was
you think
go,
that
go.
really did that slow you down? Did like on the charging aspect? Did you have to like double think that after because you were just
100,
an animal before that?
100%. I mean, I don't think it like made me more less. I think it just made me more smart. Like since then,
Pick your bone.
there hasn't been a session where I've been like, okay, I'm too scared to go out. But there's been since then I've been like, okay, be smart about it. You don't have to go on anything. You don't have to pack your clothes out. You don't have to go over the falls. Um, and I was actually speaking about it last night with Charlie Martin. We had this really good conversation about it and how injuries are. They definitely like make you realize that you got to be smart. And there's this I spent obviously this year I spent so much time in Tahiti and people charge so hard over there. And then you see these very young kids come from all over the world and they don't know the danger that a big wave has. Same as me when I was 17, I didn't know exactly how dangerous pipe was. I knew it was dangerous, but I didn't think of the consequences. Now, when you really hit the reef and something bad happens, you know exactly what how dangerous it is. And to be honest, when I'm surfing pipeline, if I go backdoor, I don't have any single thought. But going left at pipeline, um, I definitely have that in mind. I'm definitely a bit more scared to go left than to go right. Um, I've definitely had some of the best. I've had my best waves in the last couple of years for sure at pipeline, but I've been very smart about it and I've tried to pick my waves, especially going left.
Do you think that like that was that first injury and then like you had the whole bunch that followed it, but I don't think they were anywhere near as serious. As annoying as they were, do you think that first one just prepared you for the rehab and just getting past it on the following ones, like ankles and shoulder and stuff like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely had a couple runs of injuries that were annoying. And a lot of them were kind of freak accidents. But shit happens. Many people go through that. And that first back injury definitely taught me what hard work means. Uh, Not only what you have to do if you get injured, now I clearly know from all my injuries that if you get injured, you just got to put your time and effort into that. You got to make sure you're eating healthy, you got to sleep well. There's so much that goes into it. But it also taught me in my career that nothing comes easy. You got to work really hard for everything you achieve and everything you want to achieve, and nothing will ever come easy. Otherwise, everybody will do it. Um, but it's also part of it's part of the game. It's part of the journey. It's part of the competitive career. And when something is so hard to achieve and you do achieve it, it becomes so special. If it was so easy, every win or any amazing moment in your career would be just something that it's like, yeah, cool, but because I know how hard it is to be on the world tour, I know how hard it is to win heats, I know how hard it is to come back from heavy injuries. When you get there, you realize, wow, this is very special.
That was the other one I was thinking, because now the last couple of years you kind of had a kind of stable like run with your health. Did it then perplex you or confuse you that then okay, you had really great starts to the year, but sometimes then even when everything's going right, it still doesn't 100% go right?
Of course. I mean, last year was probably the first year that I was, not the first year, but last year I was healthy 100%, and I was able to put everything together, and have my best every year on the world tour. Um, this year I started with an ankle injury at Pipeline, and the funny thing is that during the winter, because I go so early, I go like November. I focus more on Sunset and Pipeline because I spend a lot of time there, and I know that I'm really good at surfing Pipeline, and also it's a dangerous wave. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to over surf Pipeline to minimize the risk of injury. Uh, sure enough, right before Christmas, was maybe my third session at Pipeline the whole winter. So I was very being careful, and a couple sessions I didn't go out. For example, when Josh Yanka hit his head, I was going to surf that afternoon and he hit his head. So that day I didn't want anything to do with Pipeline. It was crowded. There was bombs, but there was backwash. It was pretty heavy. So I'm gonna. And then one day, it was a little bit windy, but it was that 4 foot side. It wasn't that, it was nice, and there was no one else, so you could really pick your waves and pick your lineup. And I went on this left, and I was coming out, and I just came a little bit lower, and the lip landed on my ankle. Boom, felt my ankle. I'm like, oh God. At first, I felt really painful, and with my experience in injuries, I thought, wow, this is a bad injury. Um, Luckily, it wasn't anything too bad, but still, I got to Pipeline. I got to the World Tour event about a month and a half after, where my ankle was super sore. I just started surfing about a week before. So, and funny enough, I got fifth at Pipeline. Then I got Sunset. I lost in the third round, but I had a really good heat. Then I went to Portugal. I got fifth. So I started the first three events with 2 quarterfinals. So that's a really good start. And right after Portugal is when I started feeling really good with my ankle, and then my results just went down. And I was just like, how is it possible that when I'm feeling shitty well and when I'm healthy and feeling good, I can't make a heat? So then, of course, it just messes with your mind, and you just start going through so many different emotions and self doubt and so many different things that go through your mind. But it's part of it, and you have to no matter what, you always have to keep fighting, keep going at it, and it's like I say, it's never going to be easy.
I grew up with these five brothers in Brisbane, and they're all like, it was like this sporting dynasty family. Like they're all good. The oldest brother, like really good swimmer, Queensland team, Australian team. His oldest son, Sam Short, was like world champion last year in the 400 freestyle.
Oh,
Like one of
wow.
the fastest times in the 1500. I think same for the 800. So he was like a predicted gold.
Favorite coming to Olympics.
Yeah, he was favorite coming into the Olympics. Now his first race I think was 400, and he came fourth in the final. He missed the medal by point, it's like 0.0 whatever.
Nothing. Yeah.
Then the 800 he did, which was they thought was his best. He got ninth fastest time, so he missed the final. And the 1500, which he's got like second or third fastest time in history, he melted. Now there was no like explanation directly from them, and I know them. I didn't ask them or anything because it's a hard time for a kid
Yeah.
and a sportsman. And I saw just recently he did a post saying like he came into the Olympics. I think he'd contracted some sort of cold or something like that, and he had a little bit of shoulder a shoulder injury or something like that. And I was thinking, like, his next chance for the Olympics, even though he'll have world titles and things like that, is in another 4 years. And like yourself, people say, okay, these guys have got this incredible life, and you're right at the top. But even when you're right at the top, you can still be not at the top, huh? And you're not
100.
actually where you want to be.
That's where you have to find the right balance, because you can get too and I've learned a lot this year, being at the top, because okay, maybe I'm not number one in the world, but I'm the top 20 in the world, which is which is that when you look at it, it's amazing. I would have dreamed my whole life to be in the top 20 in the world. Yet this year I haven't been satisfied in 20, finishing 22nd in the world, which is, it's not satisfying for me. But you tell me when I was 10 years old that I'd be 22nd in the world, that's still something spectacular to be, just to be there against the best in the world competing. Um, it's part of life. We always want more. We always want to achieve more. But I've learned a lot about it this year, that I want to, focus on being more grateful with what I have in my life, with what I've achieved, with who I am, with the people around me, and not let results dictate my happiness as much. Because that's a huge part of it. If you let the results dictate your happiness or your emotions too much, then you go crazy. You can't do this for so long. I want to do this for another 10 years, hopefully more, who knows. But if I want to do this for another 10 years at least, I can't let my results dictate, my emotions so much. And this year I did. I let the results dictate my emotions so much, and I went into such a negative mindset that I didn't prepare mentally good enough for each event. Physically, maybe I was at my best, but not mentally, and that has so much to do with it. So in the following years, that's what I'd like to focus on, and hopefully results will come, but losses will come as well. I know there will be many other losses, many other hard moments, and yes, you definitely got to analyze them and learn from the mistakes that maybe you made, but you can't let it affect you for so long to where you get to the next event where you're still bummed from that last result.
Well, you know my wife Emma, and she's seen some sportsmen over the years, and I remember talking to her about this like years ago, maybe 10 years ago, like because she has a lot of patience, especially like footballers and stuff like that who are really high level footballers, and they often get married young or they're in couples young. And she said that's like a really important thing for them because the rest of their life has a little bit less stability, and you've got so much stuff around that like as opposed to other people if they're off studying and things like this. And you and Sophie have been together like what, 5 or 6 years?
Yeah, almost 6 years.
Almost
Yeah.
6 years. And
Yeah.
obviously she's been a huge part of your life for this whole time now. Every time I see pictures of you or see you two, you're always smiling together.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree with what your wife has said. I think for me, until I was about 21, I never had a girlfriend, never was really in a relationship. But then you become older and you realize that, okay, the life that we live is amazing, but it is pretty lonely. We travel around the world, going to different places, but we're on our own. And each week, different place, each week, different people, each week, everything is always changing. So for me, having Sophie, meeting Sophie and traveling with her, having her by my side, her understanding so much what I do has been a huge positive, an amazing, part of my life, best part of my life, 100%. And that's when I go back to speaking about not letting your happiness be dictated so much by your results. Um, I'm getting married next year to the love of my life, which is such a positive for anyone in the world. So I shouldn't let a competition dictate that side of my life. So you definitely got to find a balance with a competition and your regular life and be able to, in some way, separate them here and there so that you can go back and forth into your crazy competitive mood, but come back to being a normal human, having a normal daily routine with your wife, one day my kids, whatever it is, because that's part of life, and that's always going to be there. Competition is not always going to be there. Surfing is not always going to be there, but your loved ones are always going to be there for you. So that's, you got to definitely not take them for granted and be grateful for having people like Sophie in my life. Be so grateful, not only Sophie but my family. Be grateful for the people you have around you that love you so much.
I've complained about this with Matt on our podcast a bunch of times, and I'm not asking you to complain about the WSL or anything, but what do you think about, for example, now you're coming into like it's kind of like a 5 month break, huh? Do you feel that's too long? How do you manage that?
I do think that it's a little bit too long, and not not necessarily that it's too long, but our season is so compacted now. There's like maybe a week sometimes in between events that I don't think it's fair or right that we have only 1 week in between events and then we got 5 months at the end of the year. If you have an injury or something's going, you're screwed. There's no way you can get out of it. Like you get 3 events back to back, whereas back in the day when the season was a bit longer, you could miss one event, but you still, by missing one event, you have a 2 month recovery. But now in 2 months there's like 3 events. So if you get an injury, you miss 3 events.
What about
So
the jet lag and stuff like that as well? If you're going,
100%, you travel so much, your training, it's so hard to maintain it. Your physical training is so hard to maintain it because there's so many events back to back. There's so many things that I would say the only positive thing is if you're having a good year, you get into a rhythm and you can just keep maintaining that rhythm back to back to back. But things really have to work out because, like, for example, this year when I started having bad results after Portugal, so many events came all back to back that it was hard for me to adapt or change something in my life, in my routine, to be able to find some positive energy and positive attitude until I was able to go to Hawaii after Brazil and spend 3 weeks at home with my family. And I actually went into Olympics with a way better mindset. But there was 3 events in a row that were all so back to back, and I just kept not getting the results that I wanted, and my mindset was so low and my confidence was so low. I felt like I needed some sort of little break in between events to reset, and I didn't have that. Now, I'm definitely not complaining about it because it's the same for everyone. We all have the same amount of time in between events. We all have the same. But, now I got 5 months, which is very long time. If we had 3 months, it would still be a very long time. So maybe using those 2 extra months to spread out the events would be better, I think.
the thing for us is, for me, is we just get less chance to see you guys in action as well. So if we're following it, like you're going like, okay, like what do we do? Like, do I start following ping pong tournaments and stuff like that, which will probably happen because now my son and I we've got a table down in the backyard. So how long will you stay here in Europe for before you go to Hawaii?
I'm thinking of going to Hawaii mid-November, but in saying that, this time off is, as much as I want to take it as a time off, I am actually very busy. I did take a good 2 to 3 weeks holiday after Fiji just to shut off. I went to Ireland, England with Sophie and with my fiance, and we just drove around, ate good food, not thinking about surfing or training or anything. But now I'm definitely back into training. I'm back into a pretty solid routine. And because the season is so tight, this time is also to spend time with my sponsors and all the obligations that I have to do, which of course I'm happy to do them because I'm lucky enough to have some sponsors that support me, what I love. So this is the time to go and, I'm going to go do I'm going to do the Challenger Series in Ericeira next week.
Okay.
That'll be a fun event to try and keep some rhythm going or get some rhythm going and also break up the time off in the year. It's a really good time to, compete a little bit because then after I go nothing until 1st of February. And then I'm going to Milan for a couple of sponsors things. I'm flying back to Tahiti with my sponsor K-Way. Sorry. Ooh. Sorry, a bit tired. I'm flying back to Tahiti for a shoot with K-Wave. We're actually going to Morea and doing some other stuff. We'll be surfing a little bit, but not so much. And then I'm going to go surf the wave pool in Abu Dhabi and spend a little bit of time over there because next year Abu Dhabi will be the second event of the tour.
Okay.
So that's sort of the plan for now, and then go to Hawaii and get back into a pretty normal routine, which I do love to do. I love to just be at my home in Hawaii and surf, train, spend time with the family and everything, play some golf. But yeah, that's a bit of a my time off, which is pretty crazy.
Hey, so we've only got a minute and a half, but I just wanted to say one of the best thing I saw on you all year was that little 5 or 6 wave solo session in Tahiti. Was that Olympics training? No, or before the actual
That was
comp?
before the World Tour event. Yeah,
Epic, no, no one out.
epic, epic. That was okay. Olympics maybe didn't give me Chopu didn't give me a gold medal or a silver or a bronze, but it gave me one of the most special sessions in my life. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever get to surf Chopu by myself, about as good as it gets at 8 to 10 feet. Um, there were some waves that were absolutely incredible. There was 2 waves that I let go that were so insane, and I wanted to try, but there was no jet ski safety. There was nothing. I was just by myself. My filmer Tommy in the water, and then Sophie on either on the jet ski watching or on a surfboard watching. That was a special moment that Chopu gifted me, and I'll remember that for the rest of my life.
Well, thanks again, mate, and let's do another one. I hope.
Whenever you want.
No worries,
Thanks,
bud.
Darren.
Have a good day. I'm going climbing.
Oh, enjoy the climbing.
You.
Bye bye.